TG Geeks, episode 83, June 27th, 2016. What do Australia and Japan have in common? Hello, and welcome to another webcast from tggeeks.com, where Ben and Keith, the Two Gay Geeks, talk about all aspects of geekdom and nerdery. Sci-fi, comics, film, horror genre, you name it, we talk about it. I'm Keith Lane, and we're coming to you from TG Squared Studios in lovely Phoenix, Arizona.
And I am Ben Raggington, also coming to you from... What does Australia and Japan have in common? Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah, well, speaking of that, we have a little interview for you, if I can talk today. And
so you're the one who's derailed today.
Yeah, and you'll find out what Australia and Japan have in common. And this week we have a treat for you. We have Hamish Downie, writer, director, producer, an Australian in Japan that produces films. Welcome, Hamish.
Great to be here.
Yeah, we have a really good connection this morning, or
we're lucky.
This morning for you, early the next day.
That's right.
Early for us.
Right.
Oh, how timey-wimey. It's very timey-wimey right now.
So we wanted to talk to you.
Thanks for getting up so early.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for staying up so late.
Exactly. Yeah, it's midnight your time, or midnight 20 your time.
Right.
So
I come from the future.
Exactly. Yeah, you're from tomorrow.
I come from the future. We need to make a soundbite of that. That's awesome.
Yes. So we wanted to talk to you because you have a new film that you have that has just made it into a film festival. You want to tell us kind of who you are and what you do, and tell us about this film, just kind of, and we'll throw questions in as you go along here. How's that?
Okay. So, well, the film called Silence. It's a short film, which is basically it's no dialogue. It's black and white, so kind of harking back to the old sort of black and white films of yore, and it's supposed to have like a kind of modern feeling of, yes, going to watch a silent film with the piano. And it's basically it's less than 5 minutes, but very, very short film, which is about LGBT relationships, which are not, I guess, they're not the positive side of them. So basically a woman who is trying to escape abusive relationship, and who is discovered trying to escape, and so has to survive a night with her abusive girlfriend. And so kind of inspired by true events. So anyway, so
yeah, I know this is kind of an uncomfortable subject for you, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot there.
Yeah, that's all right.
But
I chose to make the film, so
yeah, it was kind of, I would imagine it was a little cathartic to be able to make that film.
It was. It absolutely was, and I think it I mean, not only it makes that thing kind of worthwhile, I suppose, but also by making this art, I can compartmentalize it, I suppose. I'm talking about it like it's counseling, but yeah, I guess it is. You can compartmentalize that, and you can go, okay, well, that was that, and you can seal that chapter off, and then because it's now art, then hopefully it can go on and inspire conversation and inspire people to look at this side, which it's not as big of a taboo as it used to be, but it's certainly not a subject that people, I guess, whether gay, straight, or whatever, no one really likes to talk about it. But
Right.
I think in our community, we really don't like to talk about it. And probably for good reason, because
Yeah, because we already have enough negative in our lives, and
exactly.
then
Well, I think
it's something for somebody to latch onto and say, "See there, you know."
Well, but I think Hamish, I think you kind of hit on something there. I mean, it doesn't matter what kind of relationship you're in. It doesn't matter if you're gay, if you're straight. It doesn't matter. I mean, even
Right.
in among straight relationships, domestic abuse is not talked about. It's just one of those very weird socially not talked about taboos. And I know that there are a lot of organizations that are desperately trying to get people to talk about because it needs to be exposed. It needs to be shared so that we can have more survivors as opposed to victims.
Right.
Sure.
So I don't think it really matters. But having a movie like yours, I think is a really, I think it's a great plus. Now, you mentioned that this film obviously comes from some kind of personal experience. And looking at your catalog, I mean, there's a number of films that you've managed to work on in some capacity or another. And all those where you wrote and or directed, do they all come from some kind of personal space?
They do. They really do. Yeah, I mean the very, very first thing, like where I got to, my breakthrough gig was to film a music video for Robin Lau, an Australian singer, and the video called "Never Let You Down," which the video is all about a celebrity who was being stalked by a fan, and when I was drag queen, which I was doing that for about 12 years, I had a stalker, and from that experience, that's what actually led me into becoming a writer. But that experience, I was able to put that into what turned out to be a kind of more actiony type of music video, but it had a sort of a serious underbelly.
You said that. Oh no, please go ahead.
So go.
No, I was going to say that that experience led you to writing. Is that something that you just stumbled on, or did someone help guide you into that direction? What was the step that made you say, "Ooh, writing, that might be a good idea"?
Well, I guess I'd been building up towards it over the years, but it was really sort of that moment when I was 21 when all of this stuff happened, and looking back, I would say, I should have seen counselors, and I should have done this, and I should have done that. But at the time, I just sort of went, okay, well, so I had this stalker who was busy taking photos of me and held me against my will at one point.
Oh dear.
My little misery moment wasn't fun. Like, it's sort of a bit of I'm going to try and talk about it in a light way, but kind of a Spanish Inquisition moment.
Oh dear.
Where you sort of, I think it lasted maybe half an hour, but
that's 30 minutes
too
long.
That's a lifetime if you're being held against your will.
It did feel that way. Luckily, I had I saw my friend, who's this giant in both height and weight bear of a man, in both senses of the meaning. I saw him and I was like, I managed to say, "Hey, Neil," and so I think once this person saw Neil, I was able to get free, because Neil's a big, very intimidating looking man. But yeah, it's sort of this moment where I'm sure in that, I guess, quote, fan's mind, they, because I hadn't been performing for a while because I'd been fired at that point, but they were sort of saying, why aren't you doing shows? And, then.
Oh, wow. That is very misery.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was a misery moment.
Wow.
Yeah, that is like that. Wow, life mimicking art.
Yeah.
So,
that was, and and the whole and the this is how weird fame is that I made I stepped out for I kind of this is why I got into writing, because I basically became a homebody for 2 years, and writing was my outlet. But eventually, like I had this sort of moment where I thought I came very close to as a 24-year-old kid, I came very close to getting a TV show, and it didn't happen. And I was like, I've got to do something. I wanted to. Because drag is a very quick thing. You do a show, you think of the idea, you do the show, and then it's done. It's all. Whereas writing, can take, like, Silence took 2 years to put together.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the drag show takes a week or so. So I actually went back into drag as a kind of like, take back this thing that I'd lost. And I saw this sort of hardcore fan again, and they did not recognize me at all. And that was a weird moment as well, because it sort of the both sides of it, where a few years ago, the photos, I was this, their number one, whatever.
Did you find that liberating?
It was liberating, but it was also kind of very weird. It was sort of like, there's a part of me that's kind of like, I was forgotten.
So in terms of comparing the two methods, you mentioned drag queen performance and writing. Obviously, writing is the one that you've pretty much stuck with these days.
Absolutely.
What?
Absolutely. I couldn't go back to drag now. I think that's done. Although, admittedly, I watch RuPaul's Drag Race, and I think, my God, those people make a lot of money now.
Yeah.
But
in my day, if you made $50 a night, you were doing well.
Yeah.
Now they make,
to make $50 an hour.
Right. It's sort of, wow. Anyway, whatever.
Yeah.
That's as my mum would say, when I say this, she says, look, it's their time now.
Yeah.
So
going back to this film, Silence, one of the things that completely grabbed me right off the bat, it's not just the fact that it's in black and white, but it's the setting.
Yeah, I love black and white.
I love
you're
black
talking
and
to
white,
somebody that just dearly loves black and white.
I do love a good black and white film, and what I love about filming technology today is that when you look at black and white today, it's not so much, it's really stark now. It's like intense black, intense white. It's not shades of gray like you used to have in past films. But what I love is the setting. There is something very surreal about the setting of this short of yours. What made you decide to go with that particular type of setting as opposed to something that was more grounded in present-day reality?
Sure. And there's a couple of reasons for that. We discovered that location with the Silent Hill fan film. It's an old mining town, which for any Silent Hill fans listening will probably go, it's all Silent Hilly. It's an abandoned mining town in the mountains of Japan, and it's literally a whole town.
It's a ghost town.
It's a ghost town, literally. There's. I mean, speaking of ghost towns, the day we filmed it, because in the mountains, as I'm sure you know, when the sun sets, you have maybe 10 minutes before it's pitch black.
Right.
And we didn't quite make it. We were kind of shooting right up until the last moment, because I thought we'd finished everything, and then there was like, one of the actresses said like, what about this moment? I was like, yes, okay, we've got to go back in. Anyway, we were, it was pitch black, and we were all tucked into the one car, and we were driving down this, it's going to sound like the most cliche thing, but it actually happened. We're driving down this windy mountain road into this tunnel, and this elderly man dressed in a mining outfit sort of walked up to us and said, "I'm lost," in Japanese. And in front of us, because where it was, there was no electricity, so the tunnel was completely black as well. And on the other side, there were these two headlights shining directly into us. And so it had this really weird feeling. And he was like, I'm lost, I can't find my car. And so we kind of helped him. There was no room in the car, but he sort of walked along with the car as we were driving towards these two headlights, and we're thinking, why isn't this car moving? And we were getting closer and closer and closer to us, and I was thinking like, oh God, someone's going to shoot us. And
then they'll be able to make their own horror movie out of this legend of filmmakers who died out of a ghost town.
Exactly.
There's your next film.
Exactly. I mean, it turned out that was the old man's car that he'd lost, and he'd probably, we think he might have had a bit of dementia. So
especially if he can't recognize his own car with those. I mean, it's like there's his car with bright headlights, and I can't find my car.
Exactly.
Wow, that's sad.
Yeah, it was actually quite a sad moment, but yeah, it's not complete. The town itself is abandoned, but just before the town is a mining area, which is still semi-operational, and so I guess perhaps some of the old workers still go up there. But yeah, it's I mean, we'd shot the Silent Hill fan film, as I said there, and we wanted to go back, and because it's this whole, it was abandoned in I think we found a calendar there, which was August 1974.
Wow.
So it had been, I don't think it was abandoned for a bad reason. I think it was probably just that the mine sort of shut down, and that maybe people just gradually moved away.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there was necessarily a bad reason. I mean, definitely when you're in that place, whether you believe in ghosts or not, the air was very heavy.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, have you thought about? I mean, your horror films are very, very stylized, and not horror in the terms that most Americans might think of. I mean, when you talk to Americans today, you mention a horror film, they're going to think Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th or the Halloween films. I mean, the slasher films.
Right.
Do you think you might have a slasher film under your belt, or percolating based on this little personal experience?
Maybe. I don't know if I could necessarily make a slasher film, but
If you do it in the style of David Lynch.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
Make it very
Could be-
surreal, a surreal slasher flick.
There we
Like
go.
this very low, slow kind of slasher.
Yeah.
No.
You know, a certain Japanese film noir kind of style too.
Well, Pablo's film, the She.
Yeah.
Oh, just
God, I
Which
love
is
that.
wow.
How
I
found
love
out
that.
this
Yeah, I love that
podcast.
movie.
But we saw that last year at Horrible Imaginings. That's kind of how we became connected. I think Pablo
Yeah, through Pablo.
kind of introduced us, if you will.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
I think when I was watching your interview on the Phoenix Tonight, where you're saying that you're getting this sort of big group of independent filmmakers who are seeking you out. I guess it's probably the same reason why I found you, which was, because there was this, Pablo, who I knew from the Pieces of Eight film. She was interviewed by you guys, and I was
Right.
thinking, two gay guys, they're interested in horror, they have a podcast. I've got to save this for later.
Yeah. And we're
You
finally, what is it? Let's see. When did I publish my review? It was October of last year that I
Wow.
did the review about the original that
Right.
you had created, and I
That's
just have to
right.
say that in that interview, some things that really struck me about your film was, number one, it was black and white. That's
That's right.
immediately a turn on, and then the surreal aspect, as you said, of that place, it really kind of gives the film an undertone of her life is in shambles.
Exactly.
And then, yeah,
Sorry, yeah, I went off into a tangent.
that's
You
okay.
know, Paul and I were except that someone's already got it, but Paul and I were thinking of calling our production company like Sidetracked Productions.
That's okay.
Always get so sidetracked.
Oh my gosh, we always get sidetracked on everything, but I think the other thing that struck me about that was that there was this life in shambles, and every day was a new thing. It was, there was makeup, and then the abuse again, and
Right.
so she put on the mask of being okay, I'm okay, but she desperately wanted to escape. And the thing that I took a clip from that, but it doesn't show up anymore because you've made the video private, which is okay. But the clip that I took was her running down the tunnel, saying, there is light at the end of the tunnel. There is hope.
Right.
And I thought that was such a wonderful expression there at the end of that film, that, it's just...
Yeah, when you can use cinematography and scenery to help underscore the storytelling itself, where it can mirror what the characters are going through. I mean, you managed to push something from beyond just being a straight linear horror short into something that's I would qualify this as an art film.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it is. My original idea for this was going to be actually very simple and straightforward, but I remember Paul mentioning something about like, we could go up to Chichibu, which is where we filmed it, and I just thought, like, my mind just started ticking. I was like, yeah, because this, by setting it at that location, what you can do is when I guess it happens in any relationship, but when you're in that kind of intense, that's a watermelon for people who are listening that I ate before I did the interview. If you hear any kind of burping sound, but anyway, sorry, the reason why that was such a good location, not just because we know it and it's fantastic, a fantastic place, but when you're in that kind of intense relationship, I think you don't realize that the world around you is crumbling. and you become isolated.
Right.
So in the film you see that it's only those two. Like even the child isn't real. It's this sort of doll, but the idea of the doll is that it's the child, but that they want or that they've lost, or that, it's that, I guess, that hope, or you could see it as maybe even like the inner child of the Vivi, I think it's Vivian character, or anyway, played by Tomoko Hayakawa, who is there watching and who is taken at the end. So I really thought that location could really represent, not only with, like, say, the masks, because with the location I thought, oh, we could use the masks as well, and which you summed up really beautifully. This is exactly why I used them, is to show, because I think that comes back to the whole drag thing. I think once you've done drag and you've stepped into, you put the mask on or you put the war paint on, and you realize, and you become a different person, or a different part of yourself is allowed to express itself. You sort of realize the power in the mask. And, because like as soon as the actress put that mask on, like suddenly it came to life, like she acted in a different way.
Right.
And, and I mean, that mask comes from Japanese, the no theater.
Right.
And that represents a happy young woman, even though that mask is, to me, it's terrifying.
Right.
Well, I think it all depends. Yeah, it all depends on the setting and the manner in which you're using it. It just adds a whole new level of a chill factor, shall we say?
We all wear different masks
at different times, but it's just the manner in which they're applied.
Exactly, and it's not a bad thing. The mask helps you get through things. In this case, getting through the abuse and getting out on the other side. So, it's just sort of a comment. I sort of realize, I guess. I'm interested in that aspect, like the way we present ourselves to the outside world, and what that shows about our inner world.
Right.
Anyway, I find that quite interesting.
Yeah, I want to backpedal just a little bit here, and because we just launched into talking about the film and all of the aspects of the film. I want to jump back and say, okay, why are we talking to you today? And that is because I saw on Facebook that this film had just been accepted into its first film festival, and I thought, what a great time to talk to you.
Oh,
absolutely. Not that it wasn't a great time to talk to you before. It's just
no, but it's a good time to really push the film.
Sure,
exactly.
It's a good moment. Yeah.
So tell us about that.
Well, as you kind of alluded to before, it was previously in a different form as a kind of music video. I always intended it as a kind of short film or music video that would go into festivals. We shot it in 4K, so it was, it's always been ready to do the festival circuit. And one of my friends in England, actually, who's about to launch a festival for black and white films called Winter Gardens. And she said, like, oh, we want to include your film. And I was like, oh, I can't include it because, like, even though Robin and Doug, her manager, were both fine and they were happy with the music video, I could not get clearance from the songwriter. And so I couldn't. That's why I went directly to launch it on YouTube, and we did okay.
Yeah,
it had a few views, but anyway, because my friend suggested to put it on the festival circuit, I got my friend Tim, who did Pieces of Eight, and he did the Silent Hill music as well. Got him to do a new score, and I think it really brings it to a whole new life.
Right.
I think it makes it very, very different in
Yeah,
a way.
it does, yeah.
So I've kind of put it on the festival circuit, and the first one is Shorts Off. It's a first festival for a larger festival, like it's a monthly festival, which Carmarthen Bay Film Festival. I'm probably not saying that right because it's a Welsh film festival, and I can't speak Welsh.
No, it's probably all spelled with consonants too.
Yeah.
PQRZ, yeah.
Yes, and you pronounced it way.
Right.
Apologies to all our Welsh listeners,
Yes.
because I'm sure we have some.
Exactly. I mean, it's a festival which is a BAFTA qualifier.
Oh, that's a big deal.
It's a big deal, and Paul and my previous short, which is the big one, An American Piano, that played at the main festival, at the BAFTA qualifying one, and so it's nice to have Silence go back, and it's sort of part of that world again. And so it's sort of able to say to the world, like, hey, American Piano wasn't a fluke. So,
Right.
Yeah, because people are always judging you on the last thing that you've done. And of course, if you I don't know why this is very bad behavior, that if your first big project is a hit, then everybody starts looking at your second one like, okay, can they live up to that? And they do it with such a negative kind of point of view. So it's good to see that you were able to crank out yet another success that's worthy of going to the festival.
Yeah. So I think that sort of puts us in good stead. I mean, this time I'm directing, but Paul's on camera doing the cinematography, but American Piano was him directing and me writing and producing. But I think both of those together, it sort of I think it puts us in good stead for a feature film, which we're hoping to, well, technically is in pre-production now, and we're hoping to make, knock on wood, this year.
What can you tell us about it?
Yeah.
Well, it's sort of that, I guess it's the Billy Wilder comment that he made to Billy Bob Thornton, apparently, when Billy Bob was just a waiter. And, he said, make sure your first film's a hit, make it a comedy, and, make everyone laugh and make a happy movie with a happy ending. Of course, Billy Bob went on to make his first film as Sling Blade.
Yeah, nothing happy about that.
Right. But in any case, that's what I'm trying to do. Again, I mean, this is the reoccurring theme. It's based on my real life. We took American Piano out of competition to the Cannes Film Festival, and that was one of those, like, that, I mean, gosh, that was because I've grown up loving Priscilla, and I watched the journey of it going to Cannes and going global, and so part of me was wanting to kind of retread those steps. And so going to Cannes was this big thing, and then when I went to Cannes, I was like, oh, Cannes is just, like any old seaside town, and the red carpet's just a carpet. It's kind of dirty, and
there's a lot of demystification there, huh?
Exactly. And so, but at the same time, you learn about not the movie side, but the business side.
Right.
Yeah, the side that no one wants to talk about.
So during that time, we were able to, press palms with a lot of sales agents and, got to do all of that stuff. But the one person who really was interested in just about everything we did was a dedicated LGBT sales agent, and they basically said to us, please make a gay film. And in my mind, it's like, oh, I don't want to make a gay film. Because, you think like, oh, I want to make human films. I want to make films about people.
Right.
But
you make. There's lots of films that are about people that just happen to be gay films.
Yeah,
exactly.
And gay people just happen, and gays just happen to be people. Imagine that.
Exactly. That's right. But the whole thing, like, of you saying at the beginning where it's like, oh, why don't you make a slasher film? And I'm going, no, I could never make a slasher film. That probably means that 2 years' time I'm going to be making a slasher film.
Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
There's always
no, I'm kicking and screaming. Yeah. I don't want to do this.
I want to do this as I'm right now scripting up a slasher film, but done very, maybe in a very Kurosawa kind of method.
So, in any case, when I went back from after Cannes, I sort of had that moment of saying like, oh, well, I've done it. I had that feeling the same time I did my first, professional drag show. And I've been building up to that ever since I was like 2 years old. And I was like, oh, okay, done that.
Yeah, it's kind of anticlimax.
Yeah. Kind of. Like, recently I read this quote by someone who I don't know who they are, but thank you, person. And they were saying that feeling of anticlimax is actually the feeling of going, yep, I've achieved that level.
Yeah, and I guess it is, huh?
Yeah, I suppose.
And now it's time to do the next. So, yeah. But at the time I was like, oh, okay, well, now I've done that. And so I sort of went home and I don't know, the thing with American Piano is that a lot of us kind of, it was a little bit cursed in the sense that a lot of us broke up with our significant others, and I was not immune to that. And
sad. Sorry.
That's all. Well, I'm in a better place now. I'll say that. My goodness, I'm so happy I'm out of that relationship. Yeah.
Okay.
And I knew this person. Anyway, so I was just sort of looking. I was feeling a bit lost, and I was looking for something, and I reconnected with an old friend, and little by little we kind of started falling in love, I suppose, and it meant that I ended up moving from Tokyo to Osaka for him, and now we're together, and it's been a couple of years now.
Oh, very
Wonderful.
good. Very good.
It's just been I'm sure you both of you feel this way too, but when you find that person and you realize like, oh, this is what I'd been looking for. I didn't know I'd been looking for it, but
I'm still looking for it. Oh,
hey,
no. Whoa, wait a minute.
I'm in the same room.
Yeah,
I'm right next to you.
We still laugh at each other and tease each other. It's been 20 years. So.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let's go back to your filmmaking, because you touched on something that was intriguing, and that is you just wrote, and I guess was Paul did the directing. What was it that made you say, I want to try my hand at directing?
Yeah, I mean, look, Paul kind of pushed me into it, to be honest. I did co-direct the music video, because I feel like, okay, I love music, I love film, like I feel I can do a music video, but an actual film I wasn't so sure. And Paul, after American Piano, he sort of said, I'm done with shorts, next project's going to be a feature. And so, but I really wanted to make this film, and I was like, okay, well, if the only way I'm going to make it is if I direct it. So I thought, I've got to direct it. And I remember I went to a screening with a Q&A with Ridley Scott for I'm going to say, what was that film? His war film with Josh Hartnett.
I cannot remember the name of it all of a sudden. It's out of my head.
That film.
That film.
And
yeah.
I remember during the Q&A, someone asked him, what makes a good director? And he said, 80% of directing is cast and crew. Like, just pick the right team. And so that's what I did with Silence. I've got Kyoko Kudo, who, for any geeks out there, was Wolverine's love interest's mother.
Oh, yes, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
So in the Wolverine movie, and so I've got her. She was in American Piano, and the great thing about her is that as a director or an editor, every take, every shot, that woman, that actress gives 100%, always brings her A game. She's amazing. So if I've got her, then that's most of my job done. And the other girl is Tomoko Hayakawa, who was in the Pieces of Eight movie, and she was really excited about being part of the movie as well and working with Kyoko. And I know she's done a few projects, like she was in had like a reoccurring role in a TV show in Japan, but probably Pieces of Eight is going to be the biggest one outside of Japan. I've got those two. I've got Paul on camera, so I know that's fine. And then the amazing styling for the clothes and the hair, which was done by the makeup artist who was on American Piano as well. So basically sort of did a reunion of the American Piano team, which, you sort of have to just say go.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to make sure you get the timing right. You don't get too stressed, and you just got to manage that, what you're seeing. And it's sort of like watching a movie, and you go, yep, I like that scene, that's
right.
good,
right,
or no, that's not quite the feeling I want there. Doing the sex scene was, that was uncomfortable. I was not prepared for how uncomfortable I was going to feel about that. So it ends up on screen kind of very awkward, but I think it kind of works. So
okay.
But yeah, I was not. I've learnt now. So if I ever had to do it again, I would then sort of I'd say to the two of them, talk to each other about what you're both prepared to do. So I think each of them didn't know each other's limitations.
Right.
But anyway, it worked out really well. So I'll know that for next time. So I'm still learning as a director, but I think, as a writer and as a producer, I think I'm ready to do the feature.
Okay.
Right.
Well, go ahead.
Interesting thing. I would think that obviously there are some writers that they just want to write, but I would think that if you're a writer that's really invested in the story and you're not just writing it just to be a script fixer, shall we say, if you're the writer, it would be a natural inclination to want to direct it, because then you could say, this is what my vision was, and get that actually on the film.
Exactly, to sort of protect your work. Yeah, I mean, the music video, which I did after Silence, Everybody's Got to Learn Sometime. I think as a director, I think that's the first thing where what was in my head is what was made. Silence, most of what was in my head got made. So I think I'm getting there in terms of that. I guess it harks back to I came at this from a drag perspective, and when you're a drag queen, you do everything. And so I guess as a maybe a quote artist, I suppose, you're ready to do everything. Now, I think of myself as a writer first and foremost. I mean, on Facebook, I call myself Hamish Downie writer. I don't say Hamish Downie director. I think of that's how I think of myself.
Right.
That's what I think I do best. But if the project cannot be made any other way, then I'm going to try my best to make it and be the one to make it.
No, okay. Now you talked about having visions and or vision of the story in your head. Also, in terms of just how it translates to the screen, and this is going to sound like a weird jump, but not really. When it comes to actually filming something, is there a particular style, or let me be quite specific? Is there any particular kind of filming equipment? Because we've had discussions in the past with other filmmakers, and it turns out this is a very it can be a very polarizing subject for some filmmakers. They prefer one kind of filming mannerism over another, film versus digital or 4K.
Sure.
Is there a particular...
Or, I'm only using an iPhone today.
I'm only using an iPhone today. I mean, there are some people that are very, very passionate about how they film their project.
Sure.
How do you like to film the projects that you've done? And you said that Silence was done in 4K. What about your other works? And do you have a preference over film versus digital, etc.?
I think digital's the future, so I think we should work within digital. But then, as you can see, I'm probably just as silly as Quentin Tarantino in that it's like I also look way into the past where, I wanted to recreate a film that, despite not being in the great aspect ratio, I wanted to make a film that looked like it would sit next to a film from the 1920s and not look out of place.
Right.
So because I love that stuff. I mean, I grew up watching all that stuff. So like I watched Some Like It Hot. I watched all those black and white things, and so I wanted to make something like The Big Sleep, which is of course on film, but it's what you have access to as well. And so somewhere like this ghost town where you're basically shooting guerrilla style, and you have to have. Sorry, I'll backtrack a little bit because my computer went to sleep. Getting my computer alive again. We chose this small GH4, which just looks like a regular camera, but it's actually a 4K movie camera.
Wow. And
when you do something like that, what you can essentially do is, if someone catches you, you can go like, ha ha ha, we're just tourists, even though we're dressed up as if it's, the 1920s or, the 1960s. We're just tourists taking happy snaps.
Yeah.
So it's more clandestine.
Yeah. So you kind of have to in Japan, getting permission for, unless you're the Wolverine, unless you're 20th Century Fox, getting permission is a nightmare of a process that takes like 6 months, lots of money, and usually ends up in tears because you don't get it. Wow. Whereas if you just do it yourself quietly, you can do it.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
interesting.
That's kind of how it works in Japan, and not just for the small productions. Even for the bigger ones, it's just sort of easier to just do it. So it's fortunately or unfortunately, I guess, it's easier to just do it, but you've got to know where you can do that.
Right.
And you have to be very careful, of course, but you can get around things. I mean, like the Never Let You Down video, that we were running around downtown Shinjuku, like downtown Tokyo, I should say, for international listeners, and we were fine. We we sort of ran down the seedy parts of town, and you had a few people look at us, but we were quick, and we got through that. So I think, anyway, essentially, it's the camera for the job.
Right.
If I wanted to be like Tarantino and say like, okay, I'm going to do this 70mm film, and I'm going to do then okay, great. It's the film, it's the camera for the job. But say something like Occupants, then CCT footage, that's the camera for the job.
Right.
You don't need some crazy, Red Dragon epic 6K camera.
Right. That's as big as a house.
They're actually not that big. It's just what the adornments that go on them.
Right. It screams of production.
Right. So all of the big stuff. Silence. It was just the five of us. Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. There's 4 of us, and 5. Guy did the music, but it was just the 4 of us going around. We're all friends. It was a very small little thing. Whereas, say, something like American Piano, there was like 50 people. There were lights. It was closest I've been to sort of this Hollywood kind of movie, and we were filming in a what do you call it, a convent, and a restaurant in the back of a convent.
Oh wow!
And we kind of were sort of sequestered this place just because it sort of looked like the time period, and it had a piano, and so we could kind of make it look like World War II Japan, and so that we needed permission, and that we needed to give donations to the convent.
Right.
Which of course presented its own little issues, because when I said to the nuns, like, oh, can we shoot, for the entire day? And they're like, sure, you can shoot for the entire day. And on the actual day of filming, we discovered that their day was from 3 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Oh, dear. And you showed up at 10 o'clock.
Yes.
Well, that's right. And so, come 3 p.m. when they were saying, time to leave, and we managed to push them to 6 p.m.
Oh, wow.
And so we shot that over, it was supposed to be 3 days. It ended up being 2 days. And so, wow, was that stressful.
Yeah, wow.
Oh, my goodness. Getting into that. Wow, that was stressful. But, we did it, and it ended up at the kids edition of the Toronto Film Festival. So
far out.
Yay for us.
Yeah.
Well, Hamish, I mean, it's been highly entertaining and educational and enlightening talking to you. For anybody who wants to follow you or learn more about you, do you have any social media presence out there?
I do. I'm on Facebook more than I should be. Hamish Downie writer, all one word. That's the same for Instagram. And if you look up Hamish Downie on Vimeo or WordPress or YouTube, there you go. You'll find my work, and so it's all there. I'm the most famous Hamish Downie there is. There's not that many of us.
I'm sure.
I had to say, as a joke, when I heard your first name was Hamish, I kept thinking he sounds Scottish.
Yeah.
Well, it's the first name's Scottish, the last name's Scottish, but I'm not Scottish.
No, because I almost want to say Hamish Downie.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you could. Yeah,
Yeah.
like that TV show from years ago, Hamish Macbeth.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it
this-
sort of has that real Scottish feeling.
Right.
But anyway, thank you very much for having me, and hopefully hopefully the film gets into a festival in Arizona.
Yeah, that would be nice. Or
Anywhere near us.
Anywhere near us. We'll definitely go see it. So
love it.
thank you very much, Hamish, for being on our show this week.
Thank you very much for having me.
Hi, this is Monica Demis. I'm the director of Lilith's Awakening, and you are hearing the Two Gay Geeks.
And that is the birthday music. Here are a few selected birthdays for June 27th through July 3rd, 2016. June 27th, Tobey Maguire.
Toby who?
Yeah.
Toby who? I'm sorry.
Have we forgotten who Tobey Maguire is already? Also on June 27th, J.J. Abrams.
JJ who?
Who? Exactly. Also, Bob Keeshan.
Captain Kangaroo.
Captain Kangaroo.
And
you got.
Clarabelle.
And Clarabelle, yeah. I grew up watching Captain Kangaroo. That was...
So did I. I think a lot of us are in our generation did.
Yeah, and well, a lot of generations.
A lot of generations said he was an institution.
He was, and you know, sadly, he died back in what I think 2004.
Yeah.
So anyway, Bob Keeshan, Captain Kangaroo. June 28th, Mr. Mel Brooks, Pat Morita, Gilda Radner, and Alice Krieg, who will forever be known in certain circles as the Borg Queen. Yes. Also on June 28th, Kathy Bates.
Speaking of misery.
Yeah, we were talking
Wow.
about misery just a little bit ago. Yeah, and June 29th, Gary Busey.
And that man is misery.
Yeah, he is.
I'm sorry. Did I just say that?
You know, I've told the story about having seen Gary Busey in his debut on for anything. He was on the Mazeppa show in Tulsa, Oklahoma. On
yeah,
Channel,
I actually got to see some of that. What was his
8.
character?
His character was Teddy Jack Eddy.
That's it.
And of course, Coach Chuck always referred to him as Teddy Jacketti. So, anyway, that was Gary Busey's film debut or television debut.
And you can see some of that on YouTube, I think.
Yeah, if you look up Mazeppa. Mazeppa Pompazoides Uncanny Film Festival.
Wow, you're going to have to
Camp
spell
Meeting.
that.
Yeah.
May have to put that in the show notes.
Yeah, but if you look up Mazeppa, you'll see some of the Tchaikovsky opera as interspersed with a lot of the Mazeppa show. He was an institution in the it's early 70s.
It was like those late night television, wasn't it?
Yeah, late night. It was the Midnight Film Festival.
Right.
Anyway. Also, June 29th, Ray Harryhausen. June 30th, Lena Horne and David Wayne. July 1st, Princess Diana, and her last name was originally Spencer.
Yes.
Diana Spencer became Princess Diana. July 1st, also, Liv Tyler, Dan Aykroyd, Deborah Harry, Olivia de Havilland will be 100
She would have been
years
100.
old.
Wow.
She was Gone with the Wind, and she was in the movie Snake Pit, which I don't know why I'm fascinated with that film. I saw it
For
on,
someone who hates
on TV.
snakes?
Yeah, I know. But Snake Pit was that was the name of the film.
Oh, it has nothing to do with snakes.
And she was also the sister of Joan Fontaine.
I did not know that.
Yes. So actually, and she was born in Japan. She was born
No
in Tokyo.
kidding.
Yeah, both of them were born
There's
in
something
Tokyo.
really
Yeah.
cosmic happening with this episode here.
Exactly. July 1st, also Jamie Farr, who was
Not born in Japan.
yeah, TV's first trans individual.
Cross-dresser.
Cross-dresser.
Not a drag
Yeah,
queen, but
there
a
we go.
cross-dresser.
Yeah, cross-dresser. So, and also July 1st, David Prowse and Jonathan Pryce. July 2nd, Imelda Marcos, the Shoe Queen.
Yeah.
And Dan Rowan. July 3rd, Tom Cruise, Kurtwood Smith, and Dave Barry, who is the master of insanity
Oh,
in
his
writing.
columns are hilarious.
Hilarious. Just go off the rails. Also, July 3rd, George M. Cohan. And that is the birthdays for this time.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
It's a party and you're invited. I'm Tim Galloway, your host and keeper of the Mouse Castle Lounge, your weekly dose of news, commentary, and interviews from the world of Disney, served up with your favorite tasty beverage. Drop by and see us at themousecastle.com or just look for the Mouse Castle on Facebook. It's good times and great conversations about the house that Mickey built. By the way, did you know that Walt Disney's favorite drink was a Scotch Mist? I'm more of a martini man myself. We'll see you soon at the Mouse Castle Lounge.
Go give a listen to our friend Tim over at the Mouse Castle Lounge. And now, what time is it? That's the feedback sound, or feedback music. So, we got lots of feedback.
Yeah.
So here we go.
You're going to have to come up with feedback-a-palooza music because this is a little mini palooza here. Okay, so regarding episode 75, where we got to interview Monica Demis talking about Lilith's Awakening, Monica left us a comment saying, "It was a pleasure to talk to you about Lilith's Awakening."
Yeah,
and Monica,
thank
it was
you.
a joy talking to you. And then last week, we ran a story about how the HBO series Westworld finally released a trailer online, and you can see that story and all these other articles that we're going to be referring to in our show notes at tggeeks.com. And we got a comment from Scott Linder, friend of the show, and he says, "It will be very interesting to see how much of this is like the original. I liked Westworld. I can't wait to see it." Neither can I. I also got a response from a new follower, Veronica Scott. She says, "Can't wait for this one." And John Manha also wrote, "I want to see this one." I think we all do. And then in regards to episode 82, our last episode, our happy birthday episode.
Not our last episode, but
Well,
our
the previous
most
one.
recent episode, yes.
Well, not last, as in this is another word. You know what I mean. We got a lot of congratulations. We got something from Scott Linder. He writes, "Happy podcastiversary. This was a fantastic episode, guys. Loved it. Goof ups and all. I loved how Keith says it's his job to derail you, Ben."
Well, it is.
Well, I suppose it is,
That's
especially
my
after
job.
20 years.
Yeah.
We got a message from C.A. Hartman, Dr. Christy Hartman, whom we adore and had the great pleasure of interviewing at Phoenix Comicon. She says, "I'll be listening today while I recover from Denver Comicon. Can't tell you how much I enjoyed seeing you two.
It was wonderful
It was a
seeing
joy
you too.
seeing you and having you in our studio to interview you." Good friend Don Black. Now, let me do a little bit of a backtrack here. I put out a challenge to him saying, check the episode out. We would love to have you write an interview if at all possible. And Don Black, he simply wrote back with, "Will do, Ben. I believe The Legend of Tarzan is opening at the end of the month. I'm really excited about that one. I have never liked a Tarzan movie. Having read every book by Edgar Rice Burroughs, I can tell you that no movie has ever come close to the books in the scope of the story or the depth of the relationship between Tarzan and Jane. This movie, however, frees itself from the tired origin story and hints at a greater understanding of the characters involved. I'm hoping that it aspires to something greater than what has come before." Don, that's why I want you to write a review. Please do it. I love your analysis.
Yeah.
Got another message from good friend Arkle, and he writes, "Happy anniversary, TG Geeks. A few more URLs, and Keith will own about as many websites as Elon Musk from This Week in Blackness."
Well, I've owned quite a few, let me tell
Yes.
you.
He continues with, "Since you mentioned the Logan's Run remake again on the show, I thought you might put this on your radar." And it's a link to SF Debris that he mentioned previously, and it's sfdebris.com/video/films/logansrun.php. That link will be in the show notes. And he then finally says, "Oh, hell, hearing the birthday segment, it just hit me. Zoe Saldana's birthday. I can't begin to imagine how it must feel to spend your birthday learning that a coworker and a friend has died. I mean, hell, my 20th birthday was a sad day, and that was when the space shuttle Columbia burned up on reentry. Ooh, that's grim. And I didn't even know any of those people, let alone make 3 movies with them. Okay. On a brighter note, good friend of the show, David Wagner from Beyond the Impact. He writes, "You guys are awesome and amazing at the same time. Here's to another 100 years of podcasts." David, it was great to get a comment from you. Please do so more in the future.
Yeah.
Got something from Lookie, and we'll be hearing a lot more from Lookie later on. Congratulations on the 2-year broadcasting anniversary. That's great. Another new follower, Philippe Conway, writes, wow, thank you for the honorable mention, guys. We love your show. Happy 2 years anniversary.
Yeah.
Patricia Chica writes, you are so kind because we gave her some love in the last episode. Kenny Rotter from Dumbbells and Dragons writes, love you guys so much. Kenny, we love you too. Russ Emanuel from Occupants writes, nice, you two are great. Can't wait to see you both soon. I'm sure we will bump into you again. And then prepare for a little mini feedback-a-palooza from Lookie, because they said regarding episode 81, it's nice that you cover indie films because they don't often get a lot of attention. Just noting for listeners that Ben and Keith, the co-hosts, have a gallery of pictures from the event posted at their site, Two Gay Geeks. Post title is TG Geeks Webcast episode 81. They're referring to our actual website, tggeeks.com. And now, actually, we got a comment from Crazy Joe regarding episode 80, and that's when we interviewed Larry Nemeczek. And he wrote, wow, you guys got downright loopy with Larry Nemeczek.
Yeah, it was
Did.
fun.
It was a very, very
just a
fun
laid
evening.
back, let your hair down.
Yeah, especially after that dinner we had. And then we got a bunch of feedback more from Lookie saying, how nice that you covered Phoenix Comicon 16 for folks who were unable to attend. It could make sense to provide links in the info box for all posts at the site featuring coverage of the same event, because viewers looking for Phoenix Comicon 16 event will probably also be interested in checking those out for additional coverage, interview details, blurbs, pictures, etc. I'd like to be providing a little podcast buffet for viewers so that they don't have to be searching separately for every podcast featuring Phoenix Comic-Con 16 coverage, but can sample a few of the podcasts about Comic-Con from the same spot. Google usually ghosts, I think she meant to say hosts, comments with links. Otherwise, we just jot down the relevant links below for the convenience of podcast listeners. But for folks searching for Phoenix Comic-Con 16 coverage, here's some of the relevant episodes. And they cite episodes 79, 78, 77, 76, and all those will be in our show notes. Then, moving on, we did a little appearance on Phoenix Tonight that you may have seen us on, and we got a response from Hamish Downie, who we just talked to. And he said, that was a great little interview. Glad you liked it. And then last week, we also ran an article about how Paramount is looking to bring back The Saint. And we got a message from Charlotte Hogg, and she says, a great move. I certainly hope so. Then we, because it was our 2-year anniversary, there was a little historical Facebook posting about the webcast premiere of the Two Gay Geeks.
Yeah.
And Scott Linder, he wrote, it was so short. Yeah, it was.
It was.
12 minutes.
Yep.
But not as good as it is today. And then last week, we also ran an article about Finding Dory. Can you go back into the ocean again? And Dottie Crone, good friend of ours.
Yeah, and a coworker of mine.
A coworker. She writes, thank you, Ben. I had a really high hopes, but was really hoping for a grade of B at least, which we gave it. Can't wait to see it. Hope you enjoy it. And then last week, wow, this one caused quite a bit of ruckus. We ran an article about the new guidelines established by Paramount and CBS for all Star Trek fan film projects. And we got a message from David Caldron on our website. He says, this closes all doors to fan-made material that deals with Star Trek. And we, the fans, are not going to take it. The world revolves around money to Paramount/CBS. We are not fans. We are dollar symbols. And if they don't collect, then they really are making sure that no one do so either. But we, the fans, have other options. The Star Wars universe do allow fans to love and respect what we believe in. I have been a Trekkie for all my entire life, but now I am reconsidering. David, you're not alone. And then someone named Sherry on our website simply writes, all I want to see is a Sharon woman on the Enterprise on the bridge. Sherry, I got bad news. All the Sharon people are dead. And then another message from Ozzy Mirage. I believe he's from Ozmirage. I believe he's from Australia, possibly. Or maybe he's just a Wizard of Oz reference. And he simply writes, Minions of Sauron. There it is. Crazy Joe had to say, I was afraid of this. Alec Peters and Axanar killed it for everyone. On the other hand, good friend Bill Hensley writes, well, screw Paramount. The new films are already on my no-watch list. I have hoped to fill the void with quality fan work. Yeah, we all did. And then, actually 2 weeks ago, ran an article about Sebastian Stan possibly being in the upcoming Marvel Black Panther movie. And someone on our website who simply goes by The Right Stuff 14, that's his handle, says, nope, don't want him anywhere near this movie, period.
Okay.
Okay, there you go. And then I ran an article about Phoenix Comicon 16, kind of a little wrap-up article. And we got a bunch of responses. Two of them are actually from the same person, really.
One from Occupants and one from Russ.
Exactly. I mean, it's essentially the same person.
Yeah.
So I'll read it all together. It says, oh, this is great. Thank you. Thank you again to Ben Raggington and Keith Lane of TG Geeks for being such ardent supporters of Occupants. You have our back, and we have yours. Thank you as always for mentioning Occupants and being such ardent supporters. Love your other photos too, and the fact you interviewed Larry was amazing.
Yeah.
And we really owe Russ a huge deal because, he had our back in a really, really big way. And that's all I got to say on that. And that is our feedback.
Yeah. So that was Feedback-a-palooza.
Don't we have some voicemail? Or were we able to download that?
Oh, shoot.
I'll have to say that for another time.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It was from I just fouled that up. I meant to download that. It was from Dallas Weber, Arkle's father.
Arkle's dad.
Yeah. So
we'll run that in another episode.
Yeah, we'll put that in the next one. Sorry about that, Dallas. We do want to hear from you, and you are important to us. Unfortunately, I make mistakes sometimes. Let us know what you think of the articles and what we run on our website and what we post on Facebook. And just a reminder, please play nice so we don't have to edit or delete your feedback. You can look us up on Facebook as TG Squared Studios or TG Geeks Webcast, where you can comment on our episodes and articles that we publish. You can even comment on our YouTube episodes or at tggeeks.com, and you could receive a shout-out on a future episode. You can also call our listener feedback line and leave a voicemail. And yes, I do pick them up. I just neglected to download this one. And we'll play your comment on air. 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357.
Yeah, baby. They're like two gay geeks. They're together, you know. They're two gay guys and they're geeks. Is that okay?
Well, we don't really have anything for a second segment.
Not really, unless you want to briefly talk about movies we just recently saw.
No, not really. I mean, we're running out of time here. We probably should do our follow-up items and just close this out.
Yeah.
Did we have... we don't have... the next time is after the follow-up items. Silly me. Anyway, we do have a calendar on the website. These are the follow-up items. Calendar on the website for various items such as birthdays, celebrity birthdays, friends of the show, cons, film festivals. If you know of a con or a film festival that needs to be on our calendar, please send us a note. And as you may know by now, we have become huge supporters of independent creators. Obviously, we talked to Hamish about his new film. And it's not just film, but any kind of creative outlet, comic book artists, independent writers, etc. Anything of an independent nature, we're right there with you. We will support you and let us know if you have something that's coming down the pike, a new film, a new book, etc.
We'll be happy to push it.
And we're always pushing something, but this is what we become passionate about. And we just ask you to take a look at independent creators that we talk about and others you may discover on your own and give a helping hand. It doesn't always have to be much. Usually as little as $5 helps in the big scheme of things, especially when you're talking about Indiegogo or
Kickstarter,
crowdfunding, Kickstarter campaigns. So please consider supporting independent creators. Phoenix Comicon has announced FanFest 16 will be October 22nd, 23rd in downtown Phoenix at the Convention Center. More information will be released soon. Check out the article for the Phoenix Comicon website URL.
Yes.
And for people that are year-round Halloween fans, Keen Halloween is going to be in Phoenix September 23rd and 24th at the Convention Center. You can find out more information at keenhalloween.com.
And now you can take a deep breath. Yes. And we have to give a special shout out to the Doctor Who Fancast Guide. Why? Well, because they've got some very interesting articles, but they also like to republish our stories.
Yeah.
And you can find them by going to Doctor Who Talking Who on Twitter. And their handle is @TalkingWho. Same thing goes with Arkle, who we just read some of his feedback. He puts out the Arkle Times Post Dispatch News. You can find the Dispatch News by going to look for Social Justice Scald on Twitter, and the handle is @Arkle. And in the same vein, he has the Tumblr site Incorrect Star Trek Voyager Quotes. Educational, informative, and amusing. So check that out. We will have the links for that in our show notes.
Yeah, we also want to give a shout out to the Lookie Show.
Who gave us plenty of shout out earlier in this
the
episode.
The twins, yes, Sasha and Dagmar. They are a scream. You should check them out on Twitter. They give us lots of love on Twitter @Lookie Show, and you can catch their show on YouTube as Lookie Show. If you like old movies and good commentary, short commentary, and reviews of classic films, check it out.
And I think we might be inspiring them too. Who knows?
You never know.
And then we have to give a special shout out to the Facebook group, The Gay Geek, because, well, Gay Geek. Do the math, really? It's kind of there. It has awesome content, it has awesome people, and it has a really awesome super high moderator. His name is Jeremiah Reeves, because he has given his blessing to share our episodes there. So if you want to check out that page, just go to facebook.com/groups/thegaygeek.
And thank you, Jeremiah. We also want to give a big thank you to whoever nominated us for Parsec Award. They were started for speculative fiction podcasts at DragonCon a number of years ago. If you want to check it out, parsecawards.com. Thank you, thank you. And we want to remind you, occasionally click on one of the Amazon ads that we run. It doesn't cost anything, and you don't have to buy anything. It just tells Amazon we're getting traffic. And if you do want to buy something, check out through one of our ads, our click-through ads, and then we get a little kickback for that. So thank you for your consideration. And lastly, please rate us on iTunes.
Yes.
It helps. Thank you, thank you. Up next week, we're going to have a little sit-down that we did at Phoenix Comicon, or our sit-down interview with Joe Hogan from Geektitude and his husband, Matt. And
A great time was had by all.
It was a great time that was had by all. So look for that next week. We're going to be on vacation in the latter part of the week, so we're going to push that out soon. Okay, that should do it for this episode of TG Geeks Webcast. Be sure to check out the article for this webcast episode. We're going to have several links on the page that you can click on, stuff that we talked about. And remember, you can comment on our Facebook page or our website, tggeeks.com, or you can leave us a voicemail at 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. From TG Squared Studios, I'm Keith Lane. Thanks for listening. I bid you peace.
Cheers.